What is up, guys? It's Flash back with another video, some more charts for you guys. Title of this video is called Putting the Puzzle Pieces Together. And so today I have a few tickers I want to just walk through. Again, higher time frame stuff, but I think really helps us get some clarity around where we're at in the market. And I think putting these together will help us identify what assets to be in over the next 5 to 10 years. So that's where my head is at. I prefer not to trade in and out all the time and get caught up in the short term, get caught up in the news headlines. I like to take a look at the charts, have clarity with the bigger picture, and I think it'll start to make sense for us. I'm definitely a student of Patrick Karim and Kevin Wadsworth from NorthStarBadCharts.com. You should check them out on X, on their website. These guys have really helped me, I think, own in on my charting game. But I would say, I'm continuing to spread the message that they at least taught me. It kind of sounds like a cult a little bit, but I promise you it's not. But wanted to start off with this chart, the S&P 500 divided by PPI. So we talk about CPI a lot, consumer price index, but this is the producer price index. It's another proxy for inflation. And so this is on the quarterly time frame. This goes back to, 1913 is when this data starts, but can see that the S&P 500 has been pretty confined in this parallel upwards channel. And what's interesting about this is we have a breakdown again of the S&P versus PPI, right? And ever since, July 2022, I think we are personally retesting this breakdown line, retesting again the top part of this channel. And I think, in time we will roll over. Whether we get a correction kind of like this back in the 90s and early 2000s, I'm not sure. But I wanted to also overlay, this is what Patrick Karim does as well, and this is what really kind of got me on this chart was if I'm going to add gold to this chart, right? So XAU, USD, I'm going to compare with a new price scale. So I got to shrink this down a little bit. But you see here, when the S&P breaks down against inflation, look at gold, absolutely skyrocket. A little bit of a correction here, boom, 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 big up. And then when the S&P breaks out against PPI, that almost marks a gold top in a sense, right? And again, over here, S&P breaks down against the producer price index. Gold rockets upwards. Absolutely rockets upwards. No denying this. And then if we put even a little breakout line over here, as S&P was breaking out versus inflation, that kind of told us, okay, the gold run is over here. It's time to rotate back into equities, right? Same over here. This was a little bit tougher to time, it looks like, but it's all about capital flows. Where is the money going? And so now, gold's already trying to break out here. Like, look at that's a quarterly high for gold this past quarter. I think if this breaks down, we may see similar to over here. Gold didn't necessarily break out right away, but it gathers some energy. And then right when the S&P kind of bounces, bear market rallies against inflation, that's really when gold takes off. So what I'm thinking is going to happen is S&P is going to roll over against PPI. It's going to maybe either bounce on this line or somewhere down here. I'm not sure. That is ugly for the S&P, I'm not going to lie. But that bounce, that's when I think gold is really going to go off and take uranium commodities, uranium, oil plays, take all those equities with it. I'm going to add crude oil futures as well to this chart. Got to shrink this down a little bit. Same thing. S&P breaks down against inflation. Crude oil rockets upwards. Absolute rocketeer. And that's what I think it's done. So if we're navigating this puzzle, right? Let's go to the crude oil futures. Keep this chart in mind, S&P versus PPI. I got to remove these, clean this up. Crude oil is already broken out on this bull flag. Again, we're on the quarterly time frame, so this is kind of a really big picture stuff, but we've already broken out and we're retesting that. I think crude oil is going to go up because I think inflation there's going to be another wave of inflation. And so, and then you look at the XOP chart, right? Oil and gas explorers. Let's go back down to the monthly. This is where we're at with XOP. Do you see how much energy this looks like it's gathering and ready to just shoot higher? That's in my opinion, I think that's what's happening. This is gathering energy, waiting for the right time. Crude oil is out of its consolidation. It's retesting. I think it's getting ready for a move up. We look at gold. Gold is hanging out at all-time highs. It's just kind of chilling right here, getting ready for the timing. And so I think this is what's left of the decade. Is gold going up, commodities going up, the S&P. It's tough to say. I don't think the S&P is necessarily going to roll over, but it can just go sideways for a while. This is it going sideways because inflation is running hot. So I think this was wave one of inflation. I think there's going to be a second wave and then even maybe a third wave. That's typically what had happened in history. So again, we're starting to put the puzzle together. Now let's look at the Nasdaq on the monthly. The Nasdaq, it's coming into this wedge. There's at the top here. I think we're close to a top. Again, and I don't think we go necessarily like that, but I think maybe we go like that and then maybe break out. So I think this is a sideways chop here for equities. And I'm going to look at the Google chart here. Sorry, let me just get situated. Look at Google. That has double top written all over it to me. Makes a high, corrects, and then retraces that in a rising wedge. So again, I think this comes down. Maybe a lower low to get people on the bear side. Comes back up. I don't know. That's just kind of what I'm thinking, what the puzzle is telling me. So you have gold here, and then you look at silver. Look how coiled silver is. It's so coiled. Insane coilage, brother. So I have a couple more ratios here too. So I showed you guys XOP looks good. I'm a big fan of uranium stocks. These have kind of taken off early out of their base. Might be correcting right now. Might be consolidating, going sideways for a quarter or two. If we look at the quarterly chart, ugly candle, but we still have March to get through here. So looks like that's a retest, a continued retest. But now I want to show you the Russell versus gold. So let's zoom out back to the quarterly. Look what's happening here with, I'm going to hide this real quick. But again, 97 through 07, so 10 years it topped. It took 10 years for the Russell to top against gold. with kind of a bullish, a dome-ish structure. Again, rising wedge up here. And now it's kind of doing the same exact thing, the Russell versus gold. Rising wedge, dome-ish top. You know, this was in 13, this is in 2023, 2024. So again, another 10-year top. You know, we could even put like a neckline down here. Not that it's a head and shoulders, but... And so then I copied this fractal in the line chart. Let's go back to the monthly. And then I lost it. I gotta go to image tree. There it is. So I copied this, right? And I pasted it over here. And it's just kind of, it's doing something similar, right? In my opinion. So again, I think gold is consolidating up here. It's just kind of taking its time, waiting for the right moment, and then it's going to continue its launch upwards. Especially, and that's notable in the Russell. Does that make sense? And then we can look at S&P versus XOP. This is another one that Patrick Karim tweeted out the other day. S&P has topped against the S&P has topped against XOP, and XOP is now gaining strength, and it looks like this could be some sort of bull flag, bear flag rather, sorry. And then if this rolls over, you know, again, XOP, all the oil stocks are going to go insane, in my opinion. So that's what I'm looking at. I hope that's helpful for you guys. Again, a different perspective, less of the short-term BS and more of the, you know, let's take a step back and see what's really happening. So I'm going to keep an eye on this unless this just continues and breaks out of this millennial long channel, which I don't know. It can't rule it out. Unless this breaks out, I think we're going to be rolling over against inflation. Inflation's coming back, and that's going to affect commodities and commodity stocks. And you know I love my uranium plays. So, again, hope this is helpful. If you like this stuff, leave me a like. It helps the channel. Feel free to subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.